Windsor City Council had a long and packed agenda today. Michelle Maluske joining us to break it all down for us. Michelle.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're going to narrow it down here a little bit to 4 items we really wanted to report tonight. Let's start with Peche Island. Council decided to move ahead with the first step of major restoration work on the island. Mayor Drew Dilkens used his strong mayor powers earlier this month, ordering a report on how to prevent the ponds from drying out and turning into a wetland. Council voted today to begin the permitting process to dredge the channel under the pedestrian bridge and restore water flow into the island's inland ponds. The estimated cost of the work is between $800,000 and $900,000. But councillors say they won't decide whether to go ahead until January, when they see a full list of project trade-offs during budget talks.
We have over 210 parks in our system. Peche Island is probably among the top for me in terms of how beautiful this place is. It is an oasis in the city of Windsor. We've added boat service here many years ago so people can actually get there. We've spent millions of dollars protecting the shoreline from further erosion. This island was actually owned by Hiram Walker himself back in the late 1880s.
Council also voted to call on the province to slow down in its plan to overhaul Ontario's conservation authorities.
Proper care will safeguard these internationally recognized places for future generations. The preservation of the watersheds and conservation areas is not a passive activity.
The motion, brought forward by Councillor Kieran McKenzie, warns the province is moving too fast on a plan that would shrink Ontario's conservation authorities from 36 down to just 7. A report by the Essex Region Conservation Authority says that kind of merger will be extremely challenging, including unknown details about funding, governance, and how local watershed decisions will be made. Delegates told Council they fear Windsor could lose local flood protection expertise if decisions shift to a much larger regional body.
I think that this legislation certainly introduces a certain amount of risk as it relates to watershed management, and what I'm hoping to achieve is just a better legislative process when there's so much at risk that we end up with a piece of legislation that is in everyone's best interest, and all of the appropriate risks are appropriately considered.
Windsor residents may be a step closer to getting smaller blue recycle bins.
The answer is not an absolute no. So we are expecting to have more dialogue with Circular Materials along with USWA this week in that regard, but there seems to be a bit of movement with respect to that.
Last week, Circular Materials said it's reviewing options for a smaller recycling cart. York Region residents are already able to swap out their 95-gallon bin for a smaller 65-gallon cart. As we've reported, Ontario is switching to a producer-run recycling program in the new year. Now, a new report shows what won't be covered. Small businesses, BIAs, churches, daycares, libraries, and city buildings will be left out of the provincial program. That means the city might have to run its own recycling program just for those groups. According to a Windsor City report, without this program, many businesses are feared they will start throwing recycling into the garbage. Some local councillors say it's unfair for municipalities and you, local taxpayers, to be left carrying those costs.
What's the logic here? Municipalities shouldn't have to bear the expense of picking up producer provided, extra packaging because it's in a BIA.
Council also spent a significant part of today's meeting debating whether the 10 a.m. start time should stay or should change after new survey data and public delegations raised questions about how the current schedule affects civic participation.
The results of the public survey regarding council start times showed an overwhelming support for a 6 p.m. start time, and yet the recommendation of council is to keep the time at 10 a.m.
The city's report shows 51% of residents would prefer council to start at 6 o'clock in the evening. Roughly 25% still like that 10 a.m. start. Despite that, council voted today to continue as is a 10 a.m. start time for 2026. However, the decision on changing the start time itself has been deferred until a report on engagement, technology, and compensation comes back early in the new year.
The challenge here is public engagement, and I don't think there a start time of a council meeting has anything to do with public engagement anymore, because you go to where the information is, you know where to find it if you're looking for it. I think the problem's on the back end. We have to try and get to more people, and we're not getting to enough people because our messaging isn't in the right places.
The report also notes that moving meetings to the evening would add $19,000 to $26,000 in overtime costs, limiting staff availability to provide real-time answers during those very key debates. Stephanie, and that's from Council today.
Yeah, as you know, these meetings can last a very long time, but you were able to whittle it down.
Narrow it down just a little bit.
In a few minutes.
Yeah,
okay, Michelle, thank you for this so
You're
much.
welcome.